So I'm now back in Melbourne and I've had about 5 days to test out the SIM card on the Xiaomi phone. One of the issues that I had with my phone was that the skin tone was being changed a lot. So I had somebody ask me if I'm having issues receiving notifications on my phone through WhatsApp. There is something that has absolutely changed my life. I am currently at the airport and I'm flying to Australia this afternoon. I am bringing my Xiaomi 17 Pro that I got a few months ago. It is the non-global version, which I was told not to get. So we're going to find out together if it actually works overseas. Let's go. I also want to answer some of the questions that I had on my previous review video when I had only had the phone for about a month or so. And I want to share a couple of new things that I've discovered since as well. So a couple of things to point out about the Xiaomi 17 Pro. One of them is that this phone doesn't actually have the capability for an eSIM. So that's right, when I arrive in Australia, I can't actually activate an eSIM there and use it on this phone. I'll have to get an actual SIM card. So we're going to do that together. And also the reason why I was told not to get this particular phone and to get a global phone or even to stick with a new iPhone is because apparently phones have different frequencies or different antennas, equipment that allows them to connect to different bands like 3G, 4G and 5G, and that it might not actually be compatible to what we have in Australia. So I'm eager to find out, to get a SIM card and actually find out if it works or not. So I walked all the way to my gate and figured out where that was, and I'm actually walking back to get a coffee. I actually wanted to apologize. I realized that I look extremely tired, and if you haven't noticed yet, I'm actually traveling on my own. So I was very busy over the last week or so. We've been transforming our terrace, which should be on the channel by now, so make sure that you check it out. And yeah, it's been really busy work, and I was basically out packing until very late last night. And I'm very excited to get back home to Australia and see my sister. Thank you very much.
这边自动右转女士，你好，欢迎登机。
So I've obviously landed in Australia, but I'm not currently in Melbourne. I'm actually down at the Mornington Peninsula with my sister. We've come out here to spend a couple of nights. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to try out the phone because not only am I going to be able to see how it performs in Melbourne CBD, where obviously reception is available at all times, but we're also outside of the city. So I'm going to be able to see how the reception works out here as well, where it's a little bit more patchy. And this is the Mornington Peninsula area, which is absolutely gorgeous. And obviously we need to get down to business first. We're going to get that SIM card on. I have actually dropped into a local supermarket, which is called Woolworths, and I went and picked up a SIM card. So we're going to put that in now. All right, so here we've got a Telstra SIM card. So it's a 5 GB package. It's a prepaid mobile SIM card, and Telstra's supposed to be the biggest network here in Australia. So I thought that'll be the best one to try out. And this cost me $7 Australian dollars. So the first step is to get the SIM card activated. So I'm going to go to telstra.com. You need a valid form of ID. So I'm just going to register that first, and then we're going to pop the SIM card in. Okay, so let's open this up. Here we have the SIM card. Okay, we're going to open this up. Thankfully, it came with the tool. Okay, so here it is. We're going to pop it in right now. All right, there we go. That's done. We're going to test it out over the next couple of days, and I'll come back and let you know how that went. So I'm now back in Melbourne and I've had about 5 days to test out the SIM card on the Xiaomi phone. But before we actually get into that, I want to talk about and answer some of the questions that I had on my previous video, on my review video of the Xiaomi phone. The first one was skin tone. So I explained that I had some issues with my skin tone. I was basically getting all these photos where my skin was super exposed and the photos look absolutely terrible. And I was able to fix it, but I accidentally overlooked actually sharing what I did to fix that problem. So to do that, you're going to want to go to your camera settings and you want to change the metering preference to average. So you're going to change it from face to average, and that's just going to give you an exposure for the whole picture rather than just the face. So that absolutely rectified the issue. So make sure that you do that if you're having the same problem that I did. The next one was my WhatsApp. So I had somebody ask me if I'm having issues receiving notifications on my phone through WhatsApp. And first of all, I have to say that I was amazingly surprised to find that I could actually activate a Chinese phone number on WhatsApp on my phone. The one issue that I am having is correct. I am not receiving notifications. I have actually checked all the settings and everything that should be turned on is actually turned on. So I'm not sure why. So essentially, if I get any phone calls or any messages, it's just not notifying me. So essentially I have to click on the WhatsApp app and then they seem to come through. I do actually see the notifications if I'm on the phone at the time when the notifications come through. Basically the pop-up window will on the top will come down, but other than that, no. And I have to admit that on this trip it's been quite difficult because I am basically relying on this phone, and if anyone messages me on WhatsApp I just have to basically remember to check it often, otherwise I'm going to miss notifications on there. Now, moving on, there is something that has absolutely changed my life in the last, I think it's been about 4 weeks now. And there was somebody that actually mentioned this on the previous video, but I'm going to explain the whole thing. So if you live in China and you are a foreigner, you know the challenge that it is to utilize all these apps that don't actually have English as an option. And that's definitely been a challenge for me. Obviously, a lot of the shopping that we do is on Taobao, and the Taobao English version is not actually a full version, so it doesn't really work as well. And if you use any apps through Alipay, for example, yes, absolutely, you can translate within the app. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that brings me to my new thing that I found, and that's basically a translation on screen through the Xiaomi Hyper AI setting. So the reason why it took me a little while to find this is because this is one of those things that's actually only in Chinese. So essentially you can activate this in different ways, but if I click this button here, I have this little drop down or little box come up, so you can voice activate it as well, I think. And essentially if I click on my options there, it's going to give me the option to translate the page. Basically, if I click on the translation option, the default is for it to translate whatever language is on the screen to Chinese. So I manually have to go in every time and change that to English. But once I do that, I can basically go on Taobao, do any online shopping, and I can actually translate within the page. I don't have to take any screenshots and go back and forth on translation apps. And honestly, that's actually changed my life because I can actually go on and shop and it doesn't take me nearly as long. With Taobao, it's, you know, basically like you would shop on Amazon or any online app. You want to make sure that you read the reviews to see if the stuff that you're going to get is good quality, what other people are saying. And honestly, it's been amazing. So I just want to say thank you to the person that mentioned it. I'm sorry it took me a while to actually find it. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Some people were telling me that there were no settings in Chinese. And like I said, this particular, the Xiaomi AI, Hyper AI is all in Chinese, and I did look into it to see if I could change the settings on that particular section to English, and I just can't seem to find it. So if you have a solution for this, that would be amazing, but it's still working really great for me. Now let's move on to the next point, and that is the camera. I find that I'm still sometimes struggling with the camera. There are so many different settings, and depending, for example, if I'm using the camera through WeChat, for example, and I'm on a phone call, I find that the filters are turning on their own. I'm not sure how that's happening, so I need to look into it a little bit further. There's also an additional setting on the top right-hand corner for the Leica filter, and you have a setting which is the Leica Authentic and the Leica Vibrant. And I didn't actually realize that was there because there's another area where you can find filters. And I discovered this one on a particular day where it was actually quite dark outside and I was having trouble getting nice photos. And once I discovered that filter and changed it to one of the other ones, everything was fine as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things that you just have to continuously play with. Now let's talk about the Xiaomi watches and earpods. I had multiple comments saying, yes, move away from Apple, try these other products. So I did actually walk into the shop with the intention to buy these products, and there's two reasons why I didn't actually go ahead. So with the watch, I actually asked the staff at the time and they told me that English was not a option at the time. So basically, if I get it in Chinese, I'm not going to be able to understand anything. So I'm looking forward to checking back into the store again and seeing if this is an option, because I'm very ready to give it a go. I think my Apple Watch is on its way out. And when it comes to the earphones, one of the times when I walked into the store, again, the staff basically said to me, if you have the latest version of the AirPods, the Xiaomi AirPods don't really have much on them, so stay with what you've got. So that's the reason why I haven't changed them yet. And they obviously, these items are still working, so I have no need to update, but I do look forward to trying those products in the future. And of course, when I do, let me know if you'd like me to update you. And before we move on to how the phone actually performed in Australia, I just want to say another special mention to the battery. I know that I mentioned in the previous video that this battery is simply amazing, and yes, it's still performing amazingly well. So I had some full days where I was out taking photos and pictures and doing all sorts of things, and the battery is still working really, really well. So I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Of course, now I've got way more apps. It's, you know, it's doing way more than it was at the very beginning. And yes, I am very, very happy with it still. So now let's talk about the performance here in Australia. Did it work? So a few days ago, I put an Australian SIM card in my phone. I have to admit that I did actually have a backup on my iPhone. I did actually bring it with me because basically if this didn't work, I was going to need an option. So I actually have an activated eSIM on my iPhone. I'm actually using a Saili eSIM, and this is one that I tried first in China because I recently did a sponsorship with them, and I wanted to make sure that the product actually worked before I recommended it to you. So I activated it in China. I was actually able to get onto YouTube, basically all the apps that I would normally need a VPN for without a VPN on the eSIM, so it works amazing. And now I've also been able to use that in Australia as well, but I haven't needed it because the SIM card has been working. So not only did I use it here in the city, I've also used it outside of Melbourne. So we did a road trip. I was able to watch YouTube, use the GPS, make phone calls, use WhatsApp, and basically it's been working amazingly. Once I put in the SIM card, it was working within minutes, and the most amazing thing as well is that the 5G has been working the whole time, so I haven't actually experienced any loss of service. So all of that to say that any fears about taking my phone overseas or, you know, here to Australia, those fears didn't actually come true. The phone works just well. Basically, I'm not having any problems. And one thing that I wanted to say was that I did have somebody warn me before I left China that when they bought a Chinese phone, they had to use a VPN in the country that they went to because it wouldn't actually work even when connected to the local networks. And again, that is not a problem for me here at all. I'm being able to use my SIM card. I can get phone calls. Everything is working amazingly well. So if you have any further questions about the Xiaomi phone, no, this video is not sponsored by them. It is purely my experience. If you live in China and you want to purchase them, at least now you know that it's going to work wherever you take it. So thank you so much for joining me. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.